field. Well, I do see myself a little bit of an outsider here, since I'm not really a coach. We'll talk about that in a bit. But to start off, صباح الفل حبيبي. أنا اسمي محمد رضا. As a matter of fact, I'm known more باسم مواش. هكون الهوست معاكم اليوم. I have to mention إن في عندنا headsets for translation. فكذلك لو أي حد ما عندوش أي placards بتاعت identification نقدر نشوف في البريك. ناخد ده بعيد بس أعرف يعني بس عايزة energy أكتر. Good morning, guys. Yes. So, تمام. Okay. Well, I'm not a coach. I have issues with coaching. It's a problem that I have. I come from the world of learning and development, specifically learning design. In a حد ما, you can say that I'm more of a researcher in the field of learning design. That's what I do for a living. That's what you do for a living as well. But I always had a problem, not specifically with coaching, with the malpractice of coaching. Coaching for the wrong reasons. The wrong practices of coaching that can influence people in the wrong way. Whether that was for organizational purposes, career purposes, and so on and so forth. But what made me come over here to this event is that I would be learning more about the authenticity of what coaching should be more about. I know a couple of good coaches, I have to say. I don't need to say that I know a lot of not good coaches, but I'm just saying that I do know a lot of good coaches, and I praise that they refreshed my belief in what coaching is all about. But before we do so, there is a quote that I did notice a couple of days ago when I was trying to figure out what should I do, how should I start off this event. And the quote said, coaching is product development, where people are products. And according to so, I need to ask a couple of you, how do you do your own product as a coach? Let's start with you. 3 words, if possible.
Just one word, question.
Questions.
Yes.
Can you elaborate?
Everything starts with the right question. And the right question is the one that is created from curiosity. But the genuine one, not one with agenda.
Not one that is in the script. Okay, so we have the first thing to consider in good product development, aka good coaching, is good questioning. Well, shut up. Good product development, good coaching entails
an experience
of the coach,
of the client.
of the client.
Yes, that he feels like in the moment that's what he needs, what he builds. You know, feeling like a connection with the coach and the safety. So it's the experience of the client himself.
And obviously to know more about the experience of the client as well. To hold the space for that person. So genuine questions, understanding the experience. Let's try to jump in and dive more to go to other people. عشان انت زي
Thank you.
Good product development, good coaching.
Sorry.
Good product development, good coaching.
It's I think it starts with self-awareness. So the more you are aware about yourself as a coach, the more you can go deeper with your client. So it's related to your relationship with yourself. So if you have a good, healthy relationship with yourself as a coach, you can have a healthy relationship with
So coaches need coaches?
Sorry?
Coaches need coaches at this point?
Of course,
okay.
Absolutely.
Well, we're making businesses for one another at that point. Okay, so good self-awareness, genuine questions, experience. Who else can partner into this? Good coach.
Good coaching is about active listening.
Okay.
And about being really, really present in the moment of the coaching.
Okay. That's really good. Okay, thank you so much. Have a lot of sleep. Being present in the moment, genuine questions, experience of the person. Can you offer something else?
Sure.
Safety, no judgment at all.
No
Acceptance. Because if the person is not safe, they won't share that much. And if they cannot share, they cannot proceed. And they cannot proceed, there's no growth. So offering this safety is literally offering a space for the client to explore and go vulnerable and encouragement. So that's
Not the answer.
Okay, so safety, experience, genuine questions, self-awareness, being an active listener. I guess we will be talking about all of this in depth, further and further, as we go forward to فعاليات حدثية. So, without further ado, I don't want to be taking or hoarding so much of this stage's time, and I'll be only interjecting at each and every part of this event to say a thing or two. But what are the main aspects of this event are the speakers. We have very experienced speakers that are coming from different parts of the globe, and also they will be offering us different understandings and different perspectives about what coaching is and what coaching isn't, what is good practice and what should not be conducted in coaching. And I believe as much as I would learn as someone that doesn't know much about coaching, you would also be gaining a lot from it. Without further ado, before we go into everything, we need to present the most important person of our chapter here, including myself in our chapter because I'm leaving now at this point. So our chapter here, Ms. Muzada Hedi, the president of the ICF chapter in this country. So give her a huge round of applause. You're welcome.
Thank you very much. A very nice introduction. I don't know if I deserve it or not, and my boss is here, so I might be taken out of the presidency now. Thank you. Very good. I'm asked to take the steps up and talk from the podium. There is a lot of investment here. ICF Egypt chapter. Sarfini, ya jama'a, we need to show. Very good. Welcome. I'm really, really very happy to be with you here, and I thought to be a bit sophisticated and read. Dear valued guests, I'm truly honored to be standing here today representing the ICF Egypt chapter at the Egypt Coaching Summit. And this would have not been possible without the trust of the global ICF, represented by the ICF CEO, the ICF VP, and our regional manager. And for sure, without the solidarity of the ICF chapter leaders from all the countries who are here, and I would say they traveled very far to be with us today. Thank you for that. I will not also forget the support that we got from the partners and supporters and the sponsors who made this day really attainable. A very warm welcome to you all. This is an event that was inspired by your requests. You have asked for it in many occasions. Where is the ICF Egypt chapter in all the happenings in Egypt? Coaching is growing, and we needed to respond to your requests. The theme of the summit today is growing through coaching, and I trust that this theme is just a reflection of how coaching can impact those who experienced it. And here I would like to pause. A little pause of reflection, as they say, and ask you, have you experienced coaching? And to those who did coaching impact you? Did coaching impact you? A raise of hands. hope you are not all coaches. Okay, so for the HR professionals who are here, I think the raised hand was a living testimonial of if coaching really works, and this is your ROI, that you are all the time trying to prove if coaching really works. I think it does, and I think it makes us grow in awareness, in skills, and in self-development. Coaching is a development tool that we can't deny anymore, and your presence here with this big number shows that you are believers, and I hope we keep believing in coaching as much as we believe in the human potentiality. Again, I would like to welcome you all. It's a day full of experience, of knowledge, and of networking. Don't lose this opportunity. And with that, I thank you and welcome the next speaker. Thank you.
So, to say the least, we're living in challenging times these days. Anyone knows why? Which is? It's okay, it's okay. You're politically correct to say it. Huh? Why? Post-COVID? It could be. We're living post-COVID. We lived in times where I believe people did need coaching the most at that time. Who agrees? No one agrees? I'm not among coaches? Okay. واحد agree? الحمد لله ده رزق. واحد بيجي يدور على رزقه في الأودينس الموجودين. Okay, so in COVID, no one contacted coaches? بلى بالظبط. أيوه. أنا حد سامعني؟ Let me say it again. احنا عايشين أيام صعبة صح؟ لا معلش بقى احنا عايشين أيام بعد الكوفيد بقى. يعني شغل الكوتشنج كان شغال حلو وقت الكوفيد ولا لأ؟ challenging times ولا مش challenging times؟ الحمد لله. And how did you manage with those challenging times? With technology, right? Did you manage to go to clients you haven't worked with before? Oh, exactly. So, because of that, coaching has grew a lot bigger from executive coaching that is happening in organizations or coaching one-to-ones that happen on like informal basis or maybe an intervention that can be done for a specific reason, but now there's a mass need for coaching, specifically after those challenging times. But thanks to technology, thanks to building awareness, thanks to so many other aspects that are happening these days, our need as learning developers, designers, trainers, and coaches have been growing very much. And upon which, our next talk will be more into, well, diversity, what is needed from the future of coaching when it comes to being able to deal with different needs of people that come from different traditions, different customs, different backgrounds, different needs, and also the utility of technology that can help me do my job as a coach even further and better. And without further ado, I'll be presenting Ms. Magdalena Novitska, the CEO of the International Coaching Federation. I said right, right? Oh, sorry. Okay, so to both of us, a round of applause, please.
So I'll get on stage as well, since it was an investment. And I have not been wearing high heels for a long time, so if I get a little wobbly, that's the reason. It's so exciting to be back in Egypt. It is so exciting to be back to such a full group of colleagues, peers, friends, and those who maybe are experiencing coaching in this way for the first time, maybe are a little skeptical, and maybe came here to get additional information that would allow them to be able to promote and advocate for coaching in their respective organizations where they may be associated. And a little bit about the future of coaching. You know, ICF was created in 1995. We are still a young organization, and yet over this period of time, coaching itself went through so much of transformation, and it continues evolving, which is very appropriate for a profession like coaching, right? We are catalysts for transformation and change, and our own profession and our own organization is, frankly, experiencing the same. With that said, does coaching work? Yeah, it does. It does, and because coaching has been around for a little while, we have a lot of research that can help us prove it. And coaches, individuals like yourselves, are the best ambassadors for that statement. Day in, day out, you are working with your clients, you are helping them go through challenging times. We're talking about challenging times. It is true, during the pandemic, the demand for coaching grew pretty significantly, and also pointed to a different needs that coaching can, in fact, be fulfilling in personal or professional setting. As I said, ICF was created in 1995. The chapter here in Egypt started in 2017, I believe. And even since then, the chapter grew very significantly, and so did ICF. I want to just give you this one statistic. You may be very familiar with it, but ICF is now 60,000 members strong. Those members come from over 160 countries. So as you can see, this is not a geographical phenomenon. It is certainly not a fad. It is a growing profession with a lot of standards that, of course, ICF is a bearer for. And also, very soon we will be welcoming our 50,000th credential coach. So this is a tremendous growth, and also, as I said, very global phenomenon, which means that coaching is being accepted and embraced pretty much everywhere in the world. Of course, there are cultural nuances. Of course, there are some difficulties. Of course, there are some different interpretations here and there, and there is a different maturity of a coaching market, and yet it's present about everywhere where we have our members. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what we see in the marketplace. So what we are, using our coaching crystal ball, what we are seeing in the future. In cooperation with PricewaterhouseCoopers, ICF has been conducting many studies, but one of my favorites is the global awareness of coaching. This is a study that we've done in 2010 for the first time. It has been repeated 3 times. This is a study being done with the consumers rather than with the coaches. In fact, PwC has the methodology that basically reaches out to the panels of people who are willing to participate in the study and ask them questions about, in our case, coaching. So we repeated the study in 2021, and the results were announced early in this year. It's all available on the website, coachingfederation.org. Check it out. The results were just absolutely phenomenal. The responses came from 30 countries, and we have almost 31,000 responses to the survey. What we learned was that the reasons for participation, you won't be surprised, especially the coaches here, but the reasons for participation, you can see that for the Middle East and Africa and for the global, they're pretty similar. Maybe the numerical numbers are a little bit different, but it is better communication, it is improved work-life balance, it is also self-esteem, self-confidence, teamwork, productivity. These are the typical reasons why people engage in coaching. And then, whoa, okay. That was good. And then if you think about the results, you will see that they are very much parallel and even in greater numbers to the presumed reason for coaching. But there is an even more significant message coming from that. In 2010, when we did this study first, I think we had 17 countries and now 30 participating. Then the awareness of coaching was registered at 51%. Right now, 73%. That is an unprecedented growth in the awareness of coaching. In fact, we asked our colleagues from PricewaterhouseCoopers, because they do a lot of this kind of studies, and they said that they have not seen anything like that. Not in the recent past anyway. So this is absolutely fantastic that the awareness of coaching is growing so much. And why is it? It is because coaching is being applied in a different way. I've been with ICF for 17 years, and I've seen a lot, right? When I first started, coaching had 8,000 members. As I said, we're almost at 60,000. So that gives you a bit of a taste of our growth and expansion. And at the beginning, coaching was applied more of a one-to-one, quite an elite service that was available only to the chosen few. And then my colleague Robert will be talking later about coaching in organizations, and that was a huge accelerator for coaching, for the awareness and acceptance of coaching. Because more and more people were exposed to coaching, more and more people were talking about coaching, more and more people were willing to engage in a coaching relationship. From the from the particular study with PricewaterhouseCoopers, we do know this is really fun. This is special animation just for you. Newest technology. From that study, we know that younger people are much more aware of coaching, and they are also very willing to engage in coaching, which is great news. Because, of course, we know that the younger people are coming in huge numbers to the workforce, and that is job security for everybody, also including younger coaches, because many times younger people, they very much appreciate their mentors, their managers, their families. And for a coach, they want somebody who lives their reality, somebody they don't have to explain certain things. So this is great because we see an influx of younger coaches to the profession and to the organization, including the recipient of a Young Coach Award, right here, who will be speaking with us later. So this study also indicated that the level of satisfaction with coaching and the support for coaching is coming strongly from people who participated in coaching and who are senior executives, as we know, and Robert will be talking about it later as well. Support and the endorsement by the senior management, especially in organization and setting, is absolutely crucial for the success of the coaching program. I mentioned that ICF is the strong setter of the global standards for coaching, and we are, especially with our core coaching competencies, with our credentialing program and the program accreditation. So that very study also indicated that many people prefer to work with the credential coach, and their satisfaction with working with the credential coach is greater as well. So this is where we are, kind of thing, right? So we knew that it started one-on-one. It was more of a life coaching. By the way, I have conspiracy theory why it was called life and not something else. And my theory, absolutely not proven by any research, is that you probably remember from early days that when you said, I'm a coach, the immediate question will be, what discipline of sports? So to distinguish it from sports, or, you know, these big buses or these pretty purses, that was the life coaching, because it was coaching a live person, a human being, helping them reach their highest potential.
But from that particular application, then we started seeing organizations picking up coaching, again, still at the very top level, which in my opinion was slightly arrogant to believe that a person could change completely the entire enterprise just because she or he was being coached. So then organizations started developing coaching cultures. Again, Robert will be talking more about that. And then we started seeing governmental organizations picking up coaching, and in pretty significant numbers. And when the government start doing that, that's a good sign, because these are typically big employers, they're typically large organizations, and the awareness, again, is spreading pretty significantly. And finally, somewhat recent phenomenon, not-for-profit organizations are also starting using coaching in a significant manner, because leadership of those not-for-profit organizations is as in need of modern leadership and development, personal, professional development, as any other sector. So from very limited application, we start being seriously everywhere. And that's a phenomenal sign for coaching, but really for the coaching clients. We're not in this profession for ourselves, we're in it for the results for our clients. So what's coming? These are some studies that, again, we've done with PricewaterhouseCoopers right at the beginning of the pandemic, and then about 6 months later. What we see is, and I presume that you experience some of it as well, is that coaching virtually rather than face-to-face is becoming more of a norm than an exception. Technology is being better, but also during the pandemic, again, it was mentioned, there was a huge need for coaching, and that coaching was available only in a virtual manner. So many people believe that that's here to stay. There is still a great need for human connection. That's why we're here today. But at the same time, it saves a lot of time and effort to both the client and the coach if a lot of it can be done virtually. There is an important aspect of it as well, because many people believe that because of virtual acceptance of virtual coaching. By the way, coaches were quite willing and ready early on to offer virtual coaching. There were clients that were reluctant. And many of them were like, nah, let's wait a week or two, maybe a month. This whole pandemic thing will be over. We're going to get back to our regular, scheduling. And then it was obvious that if coaching is to happen, it's going to happen only virtually. So the clients are more open to that as well, which is again, great news. And what happened with that also is an interesting twist, especially in what we call executive coaching. Because so many executives during the pandemic were coming to their coaches saying, yes, I know we have numbers to meet. Yes, I know we have this strategic plan that we have to follow. And I'm not okay as a person. I have somebody in my family being not well. I am overwhelmed. I'm stressed. My kids are not at school. I can't be a good manager if I'm not okay with myself. So suddenly, those tough business people came to coaches with the request for more of what we would very traditionally call life coaching. So a good friend of mine, and many of you may know her name, Janet Harvey, MCC, she was a president of ICF. When she was asked recently what kind of coaching does she do, she just paused for the moment and she said, I'm a coach that meets my client where they need me. So much for specialty. I'm just a good coach who meets my client where they need me. Back to virtual coaching. It is also interesting that many people believe that because of the acceptance of virtual coaching, many people would have a greater ability to grow their business. Because it's not just a geography, that defines where you're doing coaching. You know, sometimes it could be a language, but as we well know, there are people speaking our language somewhere else in the world. So we didn't need to go that far. So 84% globally believe that the business will grow because of that. And in Middle East and Africa, this percentage was even greater. It was about 90%. And what goes with that is that potentially for some, their revenue may grow because different markets are able and willing to accommodate different fee structures. So with the growth of business outside of your typical regular geographic area may come a profitability of the business. Again, for Middle East and Africa, that number was a little bit higher, about 62%. Couple of other things, I already mentioned this live vision and enhancement, that we see it, you know, when people join ICF, and we are welcoming about 1,000 members a month these days, we ask them about that specialty. The band that people self-identify as life and vision enhancement significantly grew during and right after, well, are we after a pandemic? During the pandemic. So again, this is the reflection of the fact that many people during the pandemic started realizing, again, that awareness of self, that ability to better understand and lead, either in personal, professional life, starts with self. So the life vision and enhancement coaching seems to be on the rise. During the pandemic, we always knew that coaches are a very, very generous group. And during the pandemic, what we observed was that so many people offered pro bono coaching. It started with frontline medical personnel. Then it started with schools, and then with the parents who are overwhelmed, and so on and so forth, depending on the circumstance again, right? And many believe that the pro bono coaching, the need for it, and the availability of it will continue to grow as certain needs were identified, and also many not-for-profit organizations or underserved populations realized that coaching is available to them, can be available to them, and I know the chapter here is doing a lot of volunteering, so thank you for that as well. And finally, I'm going to touch base on it a little bit, is team coaching. Team coaching started growing in popularity a lot. And again, for a good reason, because especially when you have a team that is dispersed, that it could be virtual right now, it is important to gather people together behind the same purpose and to lead them in a different way that requires different competencies, leadership competencies, and at the same time that requires different competencies from a coach working with the team. You know, modern leadership these days, yeah? Okay. I got scolded. So modern leadership these days requires completely different traits. You know, several years back, if somebody told you that the modern leader, a leader, needs to be vulnerable, empathetic, and open to question, inclusive of the opinions of the team, probably many of you would have been surprised, including me. But this is what's expected this day. Command and control situation is not working. And again, not working especially for the younger people that are coming to the profession and to the workplace and workforce nowadays. So team coaching again for the teams is very different than regular individual coaching. So what's coming? So team coaching. ICF developed this series of competencies for team coaching, and it was very purposeful that we developed those, and by we I mean about 2,000 people who were involved in a very in-depth study. These competencies for team coaching were developed in addition to and on the top of our 8 core coaching competencies. That's very important because the set of competencies for team coaching is not completely different. The base is the same, 8 ICF core coaching competencies. And yet, you can see that to be a effective team coach, you have to have the awareness, the knowledge, and the skills that otherwise are useful, but may not be necessary. So we do have that study already available. We released the competencies, and in fact, next week we will be releasing the information about the specialty credential in team coaching that that will be offered to our colleagues and already credentialed coaches. So look for that information. As you know, ICF offers 3 credentials, and what's really very important to us is that our credential is credible. I think that the sheer fact that we have almost 50,000 active credential holders around the globe speaks to it, but this is for a reason. Because we try to stay, completely on top in 2 parallel tracks. One is the content. This is why we reviewed core coaching competencies, hence the new exam. But also, what are the best practices for organizations offering individual credentials? It has nothing to do with coaching. It has everything to do with the best practices in credentialing. So, yes? Well, anyway, so we are following the standard 17024 of the International Standards Organization, ISO, and we are applying for our PCC process to be accredited by ISO, and our target date for the application, which is cumbersome, believe me, is August 2023. In my opinion, that would be a very significant development, because no other coaching organization would have a credential that is independently accredited by the international credentialing body. So I'm very much looking forward to it. It doesn't like me. Okay. Coaching for social progress. I did mention that in addition to public sector and private sector, nowadays we see a lot of coaching being applied to social progress organizations. And for a moment, there was a little bit of a danger that when somebody said social progress organizations and coaching, people would immediately think pro bono. That's not true. Many not-for-profit organizations working in the field of social progress are well-resourced. Well, Gates Foundation, that has more money than they know what to do with, is a not-for-profit organization, right? So those not-for-profit organizations and associations started realizing that, as I said earlier, that their talent needs even more help and support, because sometimes their resources otherwise are limited. So they started turning into coaching. Many of them introduced to coaching because of pro bono initiatives. Many of them the Ignite initiatives run by our ICF Foundation. So this is a new and growing sector, which I think we will hear more and more, because even for the corporations that are using coaching right now, there's a huge push for reporting according to ESGs. And coaching, in fact, can support both ecology, social, and governance issues for the organizations, but the social aspect is becoming more and more important. In many organizations, the quarterly reports, it's not the most sought-after report. It is the corporate social responsibility that now becomes quickly ESG. That's the most important report that people are looking at. And they vote with their money. They either buy the share or not. They either buy the product or not. And a lot of those decisions are being based on the ESG performance. Again, coaching is supporting, or has a great capability of supporting each of those. AI in coaching. My favorite topic. We know that technology has been supporting many professions, including coaching. And yet, there is a little bit of a fear. Will the robots replace coaches? Well, not anytime soon. That's our prediction. And the other thing is that, it's not coming. It's here. And it's here to stay. So there is no need to be afraid. We just need to embrace and befriend and make sure that we're utilizing artificial intelligence in a way that it's enhancing and supporting coaching, rather than going some bizarre way that may detract and in fact offer something that's not coaching. So at ICF, we created a coalition of coaching platforms and the users of AI. We already have research on AI in coaching because we believe in many other professions or disciplines, sometimes development of technology goes faster than development of everything around it, such as ethics, such as data privacy, such as confidentiality. So we want to make sure, again, as a leader in the marketplace, that we will be able and to offer standards. Again, we are standard-setting organization. Offer standards to corporations and organizations. They may be approached by the providers of AI-enhanced technology. They may be approached by the so-called platforms, coaching platforms, to offer coaching services. They don't know what to ask. They don't know how to compare different offers. So we are working right now at ICF to support that particular developments. Yep. Yeah. So coaching platforms, you probably all heard about, Coach Hub, Coaching.com, BetterUp, Ezra, Pluma, you name them. So they are becoming a big player in a marketplace. They are becoming a big player, especially in the organizational setting, offering at scale coaching and also management of coaching programs and initiatives. So again, we are in constant dialogue with them because we want them to make sure that they're using coaches that are trained, that are ethical, and that they're adhering to certain standards in the marketplace. So it's again, we believe it's well, they are here to stay. That's first. So we are disrupted even within our own field, without some catastrophic things happening outside, right? We are evolving, we are developing along with the marketplace, and the rise of the platforms is one of the examples. Diversity. It was mentioned when I was introduced, and that's a very important topic for ICF and for coaching. And it is, again, that the coin has two sides. One is, what is a diversity within the coaching profession? And second, what is a diversity of a coaching clients? And are they correlated? And if so, how? So we started doing quite a lot of research into that field, including a survey that hopefully many of you responded to about the perception of coaching profession. As I said, we're present in 160 countries. As an organization, we're remarkably diverse. And yet, when you come to very specific markets, you will see gaps, and you will see different gaps. And again, the diversity these days is not defined just by geography, gender, sexual orientation. There are so many aspects of diversity that now we are looking into. And again, looking, as always, into if there is no equity, if it is no diversity in certain markets, what can coaching different developments? Systemic coaching, another favorite topic of mine because I'm a systemically trained coach. So nobody operates in a vacuum, right? Everybody is a member and a participant in multiple systems. It could be work, then there is home, then it could be health, then it could be spirituality. There are so many systems, and we operate in many of them at the same time. Therefore, when an individual is being coached, it is not wise not to acknowledge the presence of other systems influencing an individual. So more and more organizations are actually willing to do that, to look more systemically. And even, just say if you're coaching the marketing team, don't forget that the sales has to have a voice, or their voice have to be brought to the conversation. It was Ernst & Young, EY anymore, that they offered coaching for a long time. They've got a great coaching program. And at some point, they realized that coaching just on the business goals of the organization was not enough, because people had lives. They called it decisive moments. And they offered coaching to their employees for any of the deciding moments. It could be a promotion, it could be getting another job, but it could be becoming a first-time parent. It could be becoming for the first time a caregiver for a aging parent. It could be anything. So what EY realized was that when people have issues outside of the well-defined work environment, they may not be as engaged. They may are present, right? And therefore not as effective. So they said, we don't care what it is. Utilize coaching for what you need at this moment most, and we'll manage. Very successful program, certainly reflected in the retention of individuals, especially younger ones, and especially during the pandemic when people are overwhelmed with often conflicting demands. Team coaching, we already talked about it. Robert will speak more to the advent of leaders and managers using coaching skills. By far the fastest growing part of the coaching continuum. So these are individuals that have responsibilities within the organizations. They are not coaches really, but they are learning coaching skills to be better at their jobs. I mentioned the traits of a modern leader. And self-awareness is seriously first. And again, coaching is so powerful in helping with the self-awareness. So more and more people are training in coaching skills, not to become career coach, not to even be a coach in the internal capacity, but to be a better leader, better manager for their teams. Coaching culture, again, Robert will talk about it, because many organizations now realize that just applying coaching in different parts of the organizations may not be enough. There is an index that we developed with Human Capital Institute on strong coaching cultures that correlate very strongly with greater employee engagement and therefore with greater financial results for the organization. It is so interesting when you think about coaching skills or coaching being used in every conversation. So one-on-one is important, and also there is a research on the so-called ripple effect of coaching. So when an individual is being coached, he or she starts using a little bit of a different language. They start behave a little bit differently. So the next tier, if you will, is being exposed to that behavior. And also they talk. They talk about their experience with their colleagues, with their peers, with their families. So the awareness of coaching and interest in coaching may be growing just because a single person experienced and enjoyed coaching relationship. And then we're on a micro level, we are going to the level of organizations, and then it's coming teams within the organization. And then we're going more into the meso, so the coaching cultures in organizations. And then you go into communities, you go into systems, you basically go into the universe, which so nicely fits into the vision of the ICF, coaching becoming integral part of a thriving society, and our tagline of coaching empowering, right? Empowering the world through coaching. That's what we do, day in, day out. So We're trying to bring the what's new and exciting to the coaching community through our communities of practice, through our research, through our blogs, and the information that is being readily available on the website. Yes, I know the website is not the most friendly, but yes, also we are working on redesigning it completely. So sit tight, it's gonna be better. And I think that's just about. Speaking of research, so we are now having the yet another rendition of our study with PricewaterhouseCoopers on the state of a coaching market. So if you haven't taken the survey yet, please do. We already have close to 10,000 responses. We hope for 15,000. It's available in 9 languages. So here's the URL or a Q code. So if you haven't done that, please do. The more responses we have, the more specific we can be for countries and or regions. So I hope that you're gonna do that and help us again just know what is the current state of a coaching profession. And now I seriously think that's it.
Thank you so much.
I don't know if we have time for questions. I know they're a little behind. One, and I'll be here all day long. So I'll be very happy to have a more individual conversations with anybody. Any one question? Burning?
Any burning questions to consider? Coming once, coming twice, 3 times. And I guess we could reconvene with this at the network session when we're doing networking. Thank you so much, Magdalena. Okay, so I want to ask a question myself. Within the entire presentation, there's one single word that really resonates with me. And it doesn't resonate with me because I'm a coach. It just resonates with me because of my background. Can anyone wonder or just like, yes? Not really. That's a good one, but it's not really, to be completely honest. I mean, it resonated with me. But it's like one word, just one word that really makes sense to me. Any HR in the house? People that work in HR? Okay. What's that one word that we really care about? A lot. Huh? ROI, I like that one. Yeah, well, we do this to get to the ROI, but we do what? We do engagement, okay, and we deal with what? Yes? People development, we're getting closer, we're getting warmer, okay. I'm sorry? Growth, okay, we're getting colder, but we're getting colder, yes? Raising awareness, we're getting, in a way, not warm and cold, but anyway, yes? You're saying really big words. There's just one word. Thank you so much. Is that because you know me? Most probably. Okay, the word is competency. Thank you so much. Which leads to people development, which leads to growth, which gets the ROI that we're working on. And my background is on human resources. And the most important thing to me is being able to understand core competencies, what people are thinking about, what people are doing, what people are aspiring towards, and what can people actually produce. بيعرفوا يعملوا ايه؟ يعرفوا ينتجوا ايه؟ يعرفوا يشتغلوا ازاي؟ ويدوني data, يدوني products, يدوني services فعلا اقدر اشتغل عليها. And by the way, that's why I love coaching. From that perspective, I'm still a skeptic until you all prove me wrong. So from that perspective, I do love coaching because we work on people's core competencies. And that more happens in organizations. I used to be a manager before, and I used to be an awful manager because I was one of the worst people when it comes to execution. I'm good with strategizing, I'm good with putting plans, and I had a problem in having that one-to-one conversation with a person and trying to let them know, okay, we need to do this, but instead, let's all do that. let's all work on this. But I had to go more micro. And what lacked with me was more into organizational coaching. Trying to understand how me as a manager or a senior or a supervisor, come what may, what can I do with my employees? What can I do with them to grow? How can I get them better? That was one of the most important points in coaching that did gravitate with me. So accordingly, we will be talking about coaching culture in organizations. And I believe there's a huge demand for it. And the very esteemed person that will be talking about this is Robert Garcia, Vice President of ICF Coaching in Organizations. Please, a round of applause, if you may. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mo. We're going to work on getting you a coach. Before we leave, we're going to get you a coach, and you're going to love coaching. Maybe it's a robot that we get you. We'll start with a robot. AI, yeah. So thank you. Salam alaikum. How did I do? Okay. So I've been touring the Middle East. I went to Saudi Arabia. I went to Dubai, and finally I'm here and thrilled to be here. So I've been working on my Arabic. So I learned inshallah. Is that good? I learned wasta. I got some wasta. Is that good? And last night we learned sika. Sika. Is that good? Okay, so I'm planning to use those. Now, I'm originally from Cuba and have been living in Miami since I was 4, so I grew up in the U.S. But when I come to the Middle East, particularly in Egypt, people talk to me in Arabic in the hallways. And I was like, salam alaikum. Mashallah. Is it? Mashallah, mashallah. But that's it. And then I'm like, how are you? So thrilled to be here. And as you said, I'm managing the coaching and organizations at ICF. And we're thrilled to work with large organizations, small organizations that are building a coaching culture. And I wanted to talk to you a little about that today. So what is ICF? ICF, as you know, as Magda was in, and by the way, Magda's my boss. So if you like my presentation, tell her that I did a great job. If you didn't like my presentation, don't talk to her. But hopefully we can share some good resources and information about working in organizations. So we were established in 1995. We have 6 distinct family organizations as part of our ecosystem. We are one of the newest. We've been around for about 2 years, working, as I said, with large organizations. And we also have professional coaches, which you may be familiar with. We have close to 60,000 individual members. We also have credentials and standards. How many of you are credentialed here? Congratulations. Tremendous accomplishment. Here we go. Whoops. Okay. So what are we? We provide support and resources to organizations that are building a strong coaching culture. We help them define what it is to have a strong coaching culture, and it includes several components of that. And we want to make sure that they are using external coaches. So external coaches are an important part of creating a coaching culture, as well as developing their internal coaching capability. And we find that is exciting. Magda mentioned also team coaching. We're seeing how there's a tremendous need for team coaching within organizations, as well as one of the most exciting things is extending the coaching universe to managers and leaders, and to use coaching skills. As Magda said, managers and leaders aren't coaches because of the relationship they have with their direct report. But they can certainly improve conversations, ask better questions, utilizing coaching, and we're really excited about that. So I wanted to talk a little about what we're seeing today. Certainly a trend that started in the U.S., and I think things are a little different in the Middle East. At least that's the perspective that I've gotten in the last few days that we've been here. But in the U.S., we had experienced the Great Resignation. I think it's stopped. But where people are quitting at unprecedented rates. And what's different about this is that people are quitting without jobs. So they're just giving up. Why do you think that's happening? Burnout, what else? What is it? A bad environment. So I don't need to take this. I'll find a job. I'll start my own business. I don't want to be surrounded by this activity at work. Also, we're working from home. We know that's great. How many of you enjoy working from home? How many of you live in Cairo and love Cairo traffic? My great driver, our great driver, said, I was experiencing Cairo traffic and I really enjoyed it. I was in the backseat going, careful, watch it, watch it. Look at that car, look at that car. She's like, it'll be okay, it'll be okay. But I think we enjoy working from home. I am an off-the-charts extrovert, so I need people. I think Zoom, Teams, Google Hangout has satisfied some of that, but I do enjoy meeting people one-on-one and in person. The other thing we're seeing now is quiet quitting. Is everybody familiar with quiet quitting? So I'm gonna be, but I'm not gonna tell you that I'm only gonna do what's necessary, kind of under the radar. I may secretly be looking for another job as I'm completing my job. So I think this is even more dangerous because you have individuals within your organization that are kind of doing what they have to do but not really happy or engaged. Gallup says the actively disengaged employees are probably one of the worst things that we have in the workplace. The other thing is that we have several generations in the workplace. So we now have veterans, and they're probably retiring and enjoying their life. Baby boomers, Generation X, Generation Y, Generation Z, and wait for it. Hopefully, so there it is. Generation Alpha. Does anybody know about Generation Alpha? They're coming. They're not working yet. I think they're like 12. But tell me about Generation Alpha. What do you think? A 3.5-year-old granddaughter, by the way, who can work a cell phone like anybody. In fact, if I have problems with my cell phone, I give it to my 3.5-year-old and she knows how to figure it out. She calls us. She plays videos. She knows how to skip ads, which is amazing. She talks to Alexa. She requests things from Alexa. In fact, there are parents that have had to disconnect Alexa because Alexa's helping them with their homework. So they're doing really well on the homework, and then the test comes and they can't figure it out because Alexa did their homework. So we have to be very careful. If you have children and you have Alexa, make sure you tell Alexa that not to do your kids' homework. Let them learn math on their own. So that's what we have to deal with in the workplace. Bad leaders too is an important part. We know that individuals don't leave organizations, they leave leaders. So what can we do in coaching with bad leaders? Coach them. Let's not fire them. Let's just make them better leaders, right? And they're coachable, I think. Individuals. A lot of times we get promoted. We're a very good individual contributor, and we become leaders. And when we get to being a leader, it's different to be a technical person than to be a leader. Different skill sets. And we have to make sure that these individuals get coaching because we think that coaching will help them become better leaders. Okay, so Magda mentioned also we work with the Human Capital Institute. We've done a survey, and this is the basis really of creating a strong coaching culture. So we want everyone to have access to coaching. We want to make sure that managers and leaders are using coaching skills. We want internal coaches as well as external coaches. We also want coaching to be a fixed line item on budgets. We want to make sure that their senior leaders believe in coaching and hopefully are sponsoring the coaching initiatives within the organization. As I said, everyone have access to coaching, making sure that there is, that all individuals believe in coaching. So very soon we're going to have a coaching culture designation. So ICF is going to provide an assessment to organizations so that you really can talk about the coaching culture that you have in your organizations. And if you're an HR professional, this will work really well with branding. I've worked for very great companies with great brand awareness, employer branding, and it's really easy when you have a strong employer brand, when you have a strong coaching culture, to recruit and retain employees. Because today, as we saw in the data that Magda presented, employees are requesting coaching. So in addition to negotiating salary, they want to coach. So it's not, do you have coaching? It's like, when do I get my coach? That's the trend that we're seeing in organizations. How many of you work in organizations that believe in coaching and everybody has access to coaching? Okay, I'd like to see more people having that, but it's great to see that I would say about 25% of you raised your hands. This is how we can, there's a return on expectations, certainly much than a return on investment. So return on expectation is really looking at metrics and analytics. A lot of the work that we do, the way that we can prove the impact on organizations is through research, through data, making we can prove to those individuals that coaching is working, that there's a tremendous impact on coaching. I'm going to switch. Okay, so making sure that we look at the impact that coaching is having through many of these indicators. So in addition to productivity, higher margins, we can prove the impact that coaching is having on organizations, making sure that employees are fully engaged and happy. And we can really take a look at what's happening in the organization and the impact that coaching is having by really measuring some of these indicators. There we go. Okay, so what's happening in the organization? The organization we are seeing is being transformed. Whether we like it or not, we're very happy that certainly the digital transformation is coming. And the newer generations, as I said, are ready because they're literally born with, in fact, I go many places when I'm traveling. Most children in baby carriages, the parents give them a cell phone to get them entertained. And they're very, good or bad, I mean, it's terrible, right? I go to restaurants and I see families, the mother, the father, the children, and they're all on their phones. And I'm wondering, are they texting each other? Maybe they don't want to talk to each other. Just send me a text. What are you having? Oh yeah, I think the fish looks good. Oh yeah, are you having dessert? So texting, not talking to each other. And that's the environment that we're living in. So definitely digital transformation is good. We're seeing how artificial intelligence is taking over the workplace. And we're seeing diversity, equity, inclusion, justice, belonging. Those are very important parts. We're much more inclusive today. We're seeing how gender equality is growing in the region, and we're excited to see that. And that's going throughout the world. We're looking at different generations, as I said earlier. Gender certainly being an important part of that. And all sorts of diversity. Individuals with disabilities are integrating into the workplace as well, so that's really exciting to see. We are working from home through the use of technology. We're communicating much more effectively, and I think coaching is becoming a really important part of the workplace, and that's part of the transformation that we're seeing. Next slide. Thank you. We also looked at some surveys. This survey was conducted by Indeed, and we looked at, I did some research and found that the benefits of remote working, according to employers, was It improves morale, it reduces turnover, it reduces absenteeism, it saves, it's a tremendous cost savings. It reduces health insurance costs, and certainly there are lots of benefits. Working hour flexibility is also an important part of what employees want or request. How many of you have the ability to work from home or have a flexible work schedule? Okay. This group seems to be very progressive. I get a lot more hands from this. So maybe all of you want to talk to people here. Because it seems like, so working hour flexibility, less time on commuting. Who likes to commute to work? What do you do when you're commuting? Experience listening to books on tape or the radio, music, decompressing or preparing for the day. I don't know. I think I could find better ways to spend my time than stuck in traffic. It's very exciting to go through Cairo, especially on the highways. People are coming in and out. They're all around us, but certainly you can do great things at home. New technologies and physical space, less time in meetings. I think people are appreciating that. Oops. Okay. All right. Yeah. So, as Magda mentioned, team coaching is an important part of what we're seeing in the workplace. It is one of the fastest coaching disciplines. ICF developed competencies for team coaching. We also have the advanced certification in team coaching. I believe there's at least one person in the room that has the ACTC. And we're very excited about that. They were part of the pilot that we did. And as Magda mentioned, we're going to be launching it in early 2023. And definitely it empowers teams to work together to accomplish goals that are set out. The team is self-managed. We're really excited about that, particularly in organizations. And then, as we also talked, managers, leaders using coaching skills, providing them an opportunity to listen actively, ask powerful questions, have more meaningful conversations, and a better understanding, having conversations with their direct reports to find out what their career objectives are, how the organization can help them progress in their careers. So we're really excited that we reward those companies that are best in class through our ICF Prism Award. And you see here, this year, the winner of the ICF Prism Award was Intel. We're very excited about that. In fact, we're talking to them. Once an organization wins an award, we talk to them and create a case study, and we make that available on our website. So if you haven't had an opportunity to look at the case studies at the previous award winners, I encourage you to visit our website because it's remarkable what these organizations are doing. Previous winners or previous honorees have been SAP, as well as STC, Saudi Telecom. And those are great examples of how, if you are thinking about creating coaching culture, take a look at what you're seeing. We're also very excited that we have the Middle East Prism Award. I think it was one of very few regions throughout the world that have their own individual award. And this year's winner was Saudi Food and Drug Authority, and last year's winner was ADNOC, Abu Dhabi Oil Company. So we're really excited that companies are really taking time to apply for Prism Award, and as I said, Prism is the best in class. In fact, at ICF Coaching and Organizations, we're going to create a toolkit for our member organizations to build or develop a coaching culture, but I'm working closely with Stephanie Norris, who runs our awards at ICF, to create a roadmap to Prism. You want to bring a Prism Award? We're going to help you do that. We're creating a roadmap so that you can, almost like a checklist. Here are the things that we need to do. Here are the components that you need to do to be able to win, because I think that that will help your employer brand as well. Not only are you going to be recognized as having a strong coaching culture, but now these companies are boasting about, we won a PRISM award. In fact, I talked to many of them, and especially I talked to one of them, and she had the PRISM award. She was the nominating coach, and she had it right in back of her in her office. And I said, oh, I see that you won a PRISM award. She says, yes, it was 5 years ago, but I still think about it. And she's proud about it. She says, and I tell everybody about it. So it's great to see that. Next. And then looking at results, we are seeing how coaching is impacting the workplace. We're seeing how, and this is directly from the nominations of PRISM Awards. So going from a command and control environment, who wants to work for an environment where there's command and control? Nobody should raise their hands for that. Going from an inclusive and involved environment, I think is much better. Empowering women to grow into leadership roles, gaining agility through individual, team, and coaching, improve retention and value in staff, boosting team performance, achieving record high customer experience. These are the things that individuals that have a strong coaching culture are saying, and then increase productivity and profitability. And final slide. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to be with you today. I think we probably have time for one burning question. Okay, more than one. And Magda's available to answer some questions. I'll answer the easy ones. I'll let her answer the hard ones. Anyone? Yes, right over here. Okay.
There you go. You're welcome.
Hello, thank you, Robert. I want to learn from you, from the 5 winning PRISM companies, what is the core curriculum they applied to be there and to be winning of a PRISM award?
Yeah, so it's more than just one thing. I think if we look at it, it's the criteria that we use. External and internal coaching, managers leader in using coaching skills. Everyone has access to coaching. So there are a number of things. I encourage you to also look at the application, and it will really tell you what it takes for companies to really win the award. And I think we're very fortunate that every year we get more and more applications because individuals are really boasting about what they're doing internally. Magda, you want to add something?
I can't help myself to add, because there are criteria for PRISM that speak about coaching being used as a strategic and business solution. So it's not nice to have, it's not afterthought, we had a little money in the budget. It is a true, and coaching is ingrained in the strategic plan and the business development plan for the organization. And what's really important also for PRISM, which we love, is a question about return on investment and return on expectation. So good measurement system from the very inception of coaching program is critical to be able to truly show the impact. And nothing speaks as loudly as examples of successful implementation of a strategic coaching, because this is how others can be inspired, and quite frankly, this is how coaching is not on a chopping block when the budgets get tighter.
Yeah, and I think if you take a look at, don't leave, we have more questions for you. If you look at the case studies, there's return on investments from retaining. Cleveland Clinic, for instance, is another honoree, and Cleveland Clinic really used coaching to retain physicians. And if you know anything about physicians, they're very expensive. You know, they have high salaries, and it's really difficult to find. So they were able to retain and we work with government agencies as well, where they've really determined that an engaged workforce is an important part of the return on investment. Yes?
Any other burning questions?
Over here.
Okay, we'll go here. They'll go right afterwards to you. شغال. Okay. Can we open the mics here?
And feel free to ask the question in Arabic. I won't be able
ask.
to understand it, but
It's not about the Arabic. It's about being heard.
but give me a few years.
So, جرب كده يا فندم.
Okay. Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Magdalena. Is there uncoachable organizations like uncoachable individuals? And how can we know before we stuck or we burn out there?
Is there an uncoachable organization? I hope not.
We not hope. We not need hope.
Are there uncoachable people? Absolutely not. I think I'm an eternal optimist. I think that everyone can use coaching. Every organization can turn around. And how can you know? I think you have to ask the questions. And younger generations are, as I said earlier, are asking about what is your coaching culture? And I think it's evident, right? You look around when you're interviewing, and I think you can recognize what an organization with a strong coaching culture is.
I really appreciate your question because there are two things. One, if there is not executive sponsorship for coaching, then it's a really uphill battle. It is much easier when you don't have to convince the boss that that's the good thing. And the other thing, which I think is equally important, coaching is not a silver bullet. It's not always coaching that is the best way to solve some problems or help progress the organization. And I think that this is important because we heard some stories, I rather said once, that there was a pronunciation that coaching didn't work. Well, it didn't, because coaching was not what was the most needed at that given moment. So I think also, especially for HR colleagues here, the good diagnostic of what's really being best for the organization in a given circumstance is a predictor of a success of a coaching initiative.
We have another burning question over here.
So, good morning, and thank you, Magda and Rob. My name is Ayman Matkour, and my question is related to the current major layoffs that we're seeing now due to the economic downturn. So we're seeing a lot of big companies lay off, thousands of people. Personally, I would like to see ICF play a role in kind of helping countries have legislation so that people would have a career coach to help them transition and support them during that time. And I think that there is a lot of wisdom behind that approach. Thank you.
Thank you. So as you can see, quickly the microphone came to my way. Actually, there are some initiatives in several countries where the governments are supporting and subsidizing career coaching, transition coaching to people who lost jobs or who are at the great danger of losing jobs, so that they are better prepared to apply for new jobs, or in fact are upscaling to some other fields or other professions that are in a great need. And it's still very interesting because, as Robert mentioned, great resignation. In the United States, although the trend is slowing down, still there are 2 unemployed people the other way around. There are 2 open positions for every person currently without the job. Part of it is rescaling, part of it is really thinking very differently about compensation, and compensation is not just the salary, right? And coaching could be a very important and interesting perk. And the other thing which I think organizations are not thinking enough of yet is that especially younger people are seriously looking into social impact of those organizations, and they will leave and not come back unless the organization is paying attention. So that's the case for the internal coaching or coaching for those organizations. So their priorities for sure include the ESGs.
Yeah, and I want to answer that question with another question. Who's responsible for your career development, your personal career development? The government, the company, yourself.
The individual. Yeah.
The individual. There's no one in the world that's going to take care of yourself than you yourself, if you don't. So if you're interested in progressing in the organization, let your boss know. Have those conversations. Hire a coach. There are wonderful opportunities for you really to progress and work in a company that you want to work for. As Magda says, there are plenty of opportunities throughout the world and you can work from home. I think we're very fortunate at ICF that we don't look at where the individual lives. We're totally remote. Yeah. I mean, we look for talent. We look for people to join our team regardless of where in the world you work. I mean, personally, I take my laptop to the beach. I'm kidding, Magda.
Good for you.
As long as there's good Wi-Fi and I can connect,
and
I can work.
If you found good Wi-Fi on the beach, even better. Good
right,
for you.
Exactly.
Well, we have another question.
And I have a great virtual background.
Can we entertain another question?
Yes.
Is it possible?
Yes.
Okay,
Sure.
We have another question here.
My name is Amira, and I am a career coach. And I'm very interested in the digital transformation that you mentioned. So can you elaborate more about the role of coaches in this digital transformation era?
He's sitting on the beach, I'm answering difficult questions. Division of labor, right. Yeah, you know, I think it is not an easy task to be a coach. Because in a way, we have to be one step ahead of our clients, right? And I talk about AI, you know, is it the robot replacing a coach? But many of our clients have similar fears or concerns about whatever line of work they may be in. They may be concerned from a perspective of their personal life, privacy, you name it. So in a way, we have to be knowledgeable about the applications of technology and digital transformation in many aspects of the modern life so that we can ask questions in a way and we can grow the awareness of the people that we're working with to either, you know, confirm their fears, they may be real, or to help them, but even in that case, to help them navigate, if that's the case, then what? How do we prepare? How do we try to either reduce a risk or just accept that it's coming, and therefore, how do we further position ourselves, our company, or our life? So you know, it is a lot to ask of coaches, but that's true, and that's, I think, what our clients are. That's why they are looking into us as this trusted source of conversation, because we can either fear with them and we can help them solve that puzzle.
Yeah, and I think digital transformation is here. Exactly. We have to embrace it. I know I fight it all the time, every day. When I work with organizations, when I come to conferences, they want me to download an app. I don't want another app on my phone. But well, when I do break down and remember my password to download my app, that's the biggest difficulty. It's much easier. It's a better way to do it. Artificial intelligence and coaching is here. As Magda said, we need to use it to our advantage. It's not going to solve all of our problems, because you need the human element. I think coaching, certainly more importantly, is the connection, this human connection, this understanding individuals and getting them to seek kind of their full potential through powerful questions that we ask. I don't think that will ever be replaced. And you know, I borrowed one of Magda's slides on a presentation that I made, and so she allowed me to. I said, "Oh, Magda, this is a great presentation. Can I use some of your slides?" And that was one of the slides that I used, and the audience that I was with was like, "Oh my God, are we going to be replaced?" No, I don't think so. Good coaches, there's always going to be an opportunity for good coaches. So But we need to embrace technology and use it to our advantage.
As a person that uses AI for learning, I designed that. It's just used for simple interventions,
Right.
not for the entire thing.
Right.
So can we squeeze in last two questions, if you may?
Sure.
Two last burning questions. Okay, Dr. Osama, and then Miss Hiba, and then Miss Hiba. Those will be the last two. And that's what happens when you get quick. تفضل.
Thank you, Mo. Mo, you know,
معتز بحضرتك.
في بلاد الشام والهلال الخصيب ايش يعني مو؟
I'm sorry? نعم؟
كيف بنستخدم مو؟ مو هيك بنقول.
أنا
إنها
مو هيك،
ليست
مو هيك
هكذا.
طبعا. أكيد.
شكرا.
تفضل يا فندم.
Magda,
لا لا
good to see you.
Yeah. Well, my name
Is that
kind of
okay?
rhymes with something else from a different dialect.
Yes. How do you say yes?
Magda, great to see you again. Robert, thank you for the presentation as well. My question is around how do you consider the cultural differences and gaps? We see in many leadership models, there is the understanding of one universal leadership model, and we want everybody, leaders wherever they are, no matter what their cultural gap is, to match that universal leadership model, similar to coaching culture or the culture in organizations. How do you guarantee that those cultural differences will be looked at? The understanding of transparency in the Middle East, it's different than in France, it's different than in Miami. So how do you factor that in your research and the way you're doing things? Thank you.
Thank you for that question. And several years back, again, I've been with ICF for a long time, we had a very, very robust conversation about cultural competency. Should it become one of the core coaching competencies? And that conversation ended up with the conclusion that no, cultural competency needs to be reflected in each and every competency that we have in coaching. So how do you make sure that it's being looked after? In our research, we always make sure that our research pool is extremely diverse, that represents geography, level of coaching, age, type of education, type of coaching being done, you name it. We just have a checklist of categories that we want the respondents of these surveys to represent. So that's very important here. We have a great input of this information from our colleagues and friends who offer coaching education, because many times they adjust their programming, still of course adhering to ICF requirements, but also being respectful of the cultural norms that being expected in certain areas. So that's another very important input into our knowledge, body of knowledge around culture. And finally, that there are some of our good colleagues and friends within the coaching community that specialize in culture or cross-cultural coaching. And I would recommend that you go to the ICF research portal, just put cross-cultural coaching, and you will have a wealth of articles, checklists, best practices that one should take into consideration while developing, coaching relationship wherever it might be. And I think that we're never gonna stop. This is a moving target. Culture changes, right? And with that culture, we need to change and adjust as well. One last comment is that it is very true that ICF core coaching competencies, the original set, was developed pretty much by individuals coming from more Anglo-Saxon tradition. So the most recent review of core coaching competencies, again, made sure that we had, I think, 15 different countries represented in that pool. And even with that, I think we still have ways to go to reflect the different attitudes in coaching, and a lot of it is coming from Middle East, from Africa, and also from some of our Eastern tradition colleagues. So moving target, but the important and a very fascinating target. Thank you for the question.
Yeah, and I think this digital transformation technology is helping with cultural competencies. In fact, we were excited yesterday. We had great meetings with local institutions, and we were talking about coaching without borders. And I was really excited about that. Even I think Magda, you came up with the title. But I think it's great because now you don't need a local coach. You can access the directory of credentialed coaches that we have, and really to get different perspectives. So individuals that are obviously familiar with the region, familiar with the cultures, can coach from anywhere in the world. So that's an exciting, really initiative that is growing. And final question, I think.
Yes, final question here. My name is Heba Adzoui. Thank you very much for your presentations. I just had a thought, speaking of the PRISM models and the some sort of recognitions and awards that you're offering. How about, because I come from an interior architecture background, how about we have some kind of a merge between the career coaching model and the designers or the interior architects or the architects in general? Because there's a huge move towards, internal well-being and happiness of employees inside of office buildings now. So this is directly related to the workplace. And there are different models of surveys and methodologies that can measure the well-being and happiness of employees inside. So how about the coaching questions that would trigger the importance of it for the HR department or any other entities inside the organization is linked to the questions related to the interior performance. So if we collaborate between those two entities and issue some sort of a surveys, wouldn't that be beneficial? How about that?
Always. Well, but really, this is great because what we believe with coaching is that coaching is one of many modalities in broadly defined human development. And sometimes it's a leading methodology, sometimes it's a supporting methodology. We work closely with talent development people, with change management people, but also with mindfulness people, with design people. So not to, of course, mention, psychology, medicine, and so forth. So I think that this is what we want to expand our reach specifically through the Thought Leadership Institute, is to exactly be in conversation with the fields or professions that are supporting and can be supported by coaching. So I don't know specifically to the interior design, although we did have some very fascinating conversations with that. But that application of coaching questions, and especially in the field of well-being, health and well-being, this is a fast-growing part of the coaching specialism right now, not only in healthcare, but just generally defined well-being. So I think that this is something definitely that could be coming down the pike. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and just finally to wrap this up, I think when you talk about happiness, I think that we can all relate. Really, it's to work on being happy, whether it's in your personal or professional life, and surround yourself with positive people that are happy. I read some statistics that say that you live longer if you're around happy people. So Magda's going to live really long because I'm always happy, right? Thank you very much. Shukran.
Thank you so much.